Welcome to No Nonsense Psychiatry, the podcast that cuts through the noise and the confusion surrounding mental health. My name is Mark and I'm your host, and my goal is to give you the clear, practical information you need to understand your own well-being. No jargon, no fluff, just honest, helpful tools to help you on your journey. Let's dive in.
No nonsense.
Welcome back to No Nonsense Psychiatry, the podcast that cuts through the noise to deliver clarity on mental health. I'm your host Mark, and this is episode 76, Feeling in Control. Today we're diving into a single fundamental truth. The feeling of being in control and good mental health are deeply structurally interconnected. We know that anxiety, stress and depression thrive in a feeling of powerlessness. And the antidote is not wealth or perfect luck. It's the psychological bedrock of autonomy and self-efficiency, that inner belief that you have the capacity to choose your actions and influence your outcomes. In this episode, we'll explore the shared psychological foundations of control and resilience. We'll look at everyday stressors that chip away at our sense of control, from unpredictable work schedules to a messy desk or constantly being interrupted. And most importantly, we're going to give you 3 concrete, no-nonsense strategies you can implement immediately, today, right now. We're going to talk about the control circle technique to filter the chaos, the 4-7-8 breath to regain immediate physical command, and the power of the smallest next step to break down the overwhelming problems. If you felt paralysed by the world, this episode is about shifting your focus from the external storm to your unshakable inner power. So let's get started. The feeling of being in control and good mental health are deeply interconnected and share a common foundation rooted in the psychological need for autonomy and self-efficacy. Key commonalities, shared psychological foundations. The common element is that a healthy sense of perceived control is a fundamental predictor and component of good mental health. The core psychological need, where you feel you need to be in control of your actions, free from excessive pressure, and have the ability to make your own choices. Fulfilling this need is directly associated with good mental health and motivation. This is the belief of your own capacity to influence events and outcomes in your life, particularly your ability to execute behaviours necessarily to produce specific performance attainments. A strong sense of self-efficacy, which is essentially a belief in the internal control, is a hallmark of mental resilience. Feeling in control allows individuals to appraise challenging situations as controllable or challenging rather than overwhelming or threatening. This perception triggers more constructive, proactive coping strategies with a key element of mental wellness. A balanced and healthy feeling of control directly contributes to good mental health by reducing psychological distress. So when people feel powerless or that outcomes are purely due to external forces, like fate or luck, it can lead to increased stress, anxiety, and depression. So a healthy sense of control, often called the internal locus of control, helps buffer against these negative psychological states. The feeling that you can influence or manage your situation, even if you can't control the outcome, is a core part of resilience, which is the ability to bounce back from adversity. The belief encourages people to take action rather than succumb to helplessness. When you feel in control, you are more likely to take responsibility for your actions and focus your efforts on things you can change, such as your attitude reactions. You can choose your mindset on how you respond to events, even if the event itself is uncontrollable. Effort and behaviours. You can control over persistence, work ethic and commitment. Boundaries and intentions. You can decide your personal limits and what truly matters to you, your values. The importance of balance, though, is crucial to note that the relationship is one of balance. Okay, so to Too much or unrealistic need of control over everything can actually be detrimental to your mental health, leading to frustration, chronic stress, or even contributing to certain psychopathologies, like obsessive compulsive disorder, where people seek control in maladaptive ways. Good mental health involves knowing the difference between what you can control and what you must accept. True life story of J.K. Rowling. This is a modern story of overcoming adversity deeply connects with the feelings of hopelessness and being out of control. Before becoming a global literary icon, J.K. Rowling was struggling as a single mother, living on welfare, on government payments, dealing with personal loss and suffering from depression. She famously described herself as feelings like a failure. She was not in control of her financial circumstances or ease of life. Her turning point was not an external change, but an internal one. She chose to channel her entire focus into the one thing she can control. Writing her story, even after being rejected by 12 publishers, she still persisted. The rock bottom, it validates the feeling of being at your absolute lowest, when your life seems entirely controlled by external forces, poverty, depression and rejection. The simple action, it demonstrates the path of feeling out of control. It's often not a grand dramatic rescue, but a consistent, dedicated effort on one controllable thing. She didn't control the publishers, the economy, or her past. She controlled the act of writing itself, and that was enough to change her entire reality. So she concentrated on just sticking with it and writing, sticking to her guns, sticking to her beliefs, sticking to her values. She couldn't do anything else about them. If they didn't want her book, they were never going to have it. It didn't mean she was going to not write a book. So this is what we're talking about. Well, I don't expect everybody to become a famous author, but you get the gist of the story and feeling out of control, right? What everyday things make someone unhappy to not feel in control of? Time and schedule control. The inability to manage one's own time is one of the quickest ways to feel overwhelmed and powerless. Unpredictable work schedules. Not knowing when you will work, having shifts constantly changed, or being forced to work excessive unpaid overtime, that makes it impossible to plan your personal life or rest. Constant interruptions. Being unable to complete a task because you are repeatedly interrupted by emails, calls and co-workers. You lose control of focus and productivity. And I'll give you a good example of this. I record this podcast from my house. And what seems like fate, or I don't know, something out of my control, is that a lot of the time I'll come and record these shows, and the guy next door will insist on renovating his house. So that means I get too much noise in here. So I have to kind of always feel like sometimes it can interfere, because I could be quite motivated to do a lot more of these shows, but then I'll get interrupted and not do that. So I understand where this is coming from. That's just giving you a general view, constant interruptions that you can have. You lose control over focus, which I do, and productivity. I will, it slows me down. Commuting reliability. Being the subject of uncontrolled factors like traffic jams, delayed public transport, or accidents leading to chronic lateness or wasted time. You can start to feel like a victim of circumstances simply trying to get somewhere. Or having lack of downtime, having a schedule so packed that there's no time to breathe, relax, or do something purely for enjoyment. And this is a loss of control over self-care. Personal space and environment control. Feeling able to manage or influence one's immediate surroundings can deeply be unsettling, as the environment is primarily your primary domain, right? Living in a space or working at a desk that is constantly messy and disorganised. This creates a psychological feeling of chaos and a loss of mental control. Noise pollution. Being subjected to unavoidable, loud, irritating noise, like neighbours constantly constant noise or traffic. He's a really nice guy, but as I say, it just seems to always coincide when I want to do these and I need quiet. So you cannot stop or mitigate this stuff, this invasion of your space. You can't do anything about it unless you barricade yourself in and build yourself a studio, which I have contemplated. Financial instability, not having a budget or living a paycheck to paycheck, even small unexpected expenses, a flat tire, a high utility bill, feeling catastrophic because you lack the control over your financial safety net, basically. Diet and fitness, being able to stick to a healthy diet or an exercise routine, often due to lack of time or discipline. And this results in a loss of control over one's physical health and body image. Interactions and information control. This relates to control over how you are treated and what you consume. Having your voice dismissed, being in a situation at work or in a relationship where your opinion is constantly ignored, minimised, overridden, and making you feel powerless in your decisions. The vicious cycle of news. Feeling compelled to constantly check negative and overwhelming news feeds, creating anxiety in global events that you know you cannot personally change. And this is a loss of control over your mental input. Lack of boundaries, being unable to say no to requests from others, leading to overcommitment, resentment, and a feeling that others are controlling your energy and time. Lack of clarity or transparency, being kept in the dark about important changes like a company reorganisation or family plans that directly affect you. Lack of information leaves you unable to plan and prepare. By addressing these small everyday areas, people can often significantly boost their overall sense of control and their mental well-being. When you're feeling overwhelmed and out of control in your daily life, the most effective strategies are the ones that are simple, immediate, and refocus your energy from the external chaos to your internal power. Based on psychological principles like Stoicism and cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, there are three core strategies to combat those times. Strategy 1, the control circle technique. This strategy is all about deliberately defining where your power actually lies and strategically moving your focus. Draw 2 circles on a piece of paper and a large outer circle, the smallest inner circle and outer circle. Draw 2 circles. On a piece of paper, draw a large outer circle and a small inner circle. The outer circle is the uncontrollable. List everything currently making you feel anxious and out of control that you cannot change right now, i.e. the economy, a co-worker's attitude, a past mistake, traffic, pending medical test result, and the inner circle is the controllable. So list everything that you can control in this moment or your immediate future, i.e. your effort, your attitude, boundaries, what to eat for lunch, how to spend your next 30 minutes, when to turn off the news. Feeling out of control often comes from spending too much mental energy in the outer circle, and this technique immediately gives you a visible, actionable plan by directing your energy to the inner circle, making the feeling of power, shall I say, more tangible, more real, more tangible. Strategy: grounding and slowing the body. When your mind feels out of control, the body often follows. Shallow breathing, tension, racing heart. And this strategy interrupts the stress response to regain the immediate physical command. How to do it is the 4-7-8 breath, and we've talked about this before, but I'm going to go through it again because I think it's really important to practice these techniques. You find that they can be used across many situations. So this technique is a simple form of diaphragmatic breathing. Exhale completely, emptying your lungs of air. Inhale. Breathe in a quiet through the nose for a count of 4. Hold your breath for a count of 7 and exhale completely through your mouth with a whoosh sound for a count of 8. Repeat this cycle 3 to 4 times. Why does this work? By physically lengthening your exhale, you activate your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode, which I bang on about quite a lot. This chemically signals your brain that you are safe, forcing your heart rate and anxiety thoughts to slow down. You regain control of your immediate internal state, which is the most fundamental form of control you possess. And the last strategy, the smallest step, feeling overwhelmed by things that happen because the goal or the problem seems just too large. This strategy breaks down the seemingly massive obstacle into the smallest, most manageable action. So when you feel frozen or panicked, ask yourself, what is the single smallest thing I can do right now to move forward? The answer must be something that you can complete within 5 minutes or less. Yeah? For examples, sound Greek? No, I'm joking. For example, if you feel out of control due to a messy house, the step is not to clean the house, but to put one dirty dish in the sink. Throw away one piece of rubbish. Write down the first item on your to-do list. Successfully completing this task, the smallest next step, creates a tiny but powerful loop of accomplishment. It proves to your anxious mind that you have the power to initiate action, shattering that feeling of paralysis and generating momentum towards regaining control. Well, that brings us to the end of episode 76. The core message today is this: you don't need to control the outcome, you need to control your life. Mental health isn't about avoiding chaos, it's about confidently wielding the only tools you truly possess: your effort, your attitude, and your immediate actions. Remember the 3 stages strategies we discussed. Use the control circle. Spend your energy exclusively on that inner circle of things that you can change. Practice the 4-7-8 breath. Interrupt stress, respond and regain command of your physical state. Take the smallest next step. Fight paralysis with tiny, intermediate action to build momentum. You have the power to influence your environment and your well-being, even when everything else feels like outside of your grasp. Thank you so much for joining me today on No Nonsense Psychiatry. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with somebody, a friend who you might think is struggling and feeling that sense of overwhelmness. Until next time, prioritise your peace, focus your effort, and keep moving forward. Before we go, if you found the podcast helpful, please share it with someone who might benefit from it. You can also support the show by subscribing and leaving a review. It only takes a moment, but it makes a big difference in helping us reach more people. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next episode of No Nonsense Psychiatry.
No nonsense.